The movie begins with Manuel, a businessman. He has his own high-end brand of mezcal and sells it to other countries. During one of his business trips while he was waiting in the airport, he first meets Abril, a flight attendant. The instant he saw her, he was struck by a spark of interest and attraction. When he finally makes a move to go up to her, Abril and her colleague walk over to the gate to board the plane. The irony here is Manuel is on the same flight, and Abril happens to be one of the flight attendants serving on it. It's a long, unbroken flight. Every time Abril's co-worker walks down to the back of the cabin, Manuel gets a chance to move another inch towards her. Talking, joking, asking about her job and her life. He's trying to bring about a thaw, praying for something romantic to develop between them. At last, his toil is rewarded, and Manuel and Abril share a kiss. In preparation for the plane landing, they plan to meet at a bar a minute or so after getting off. But Manuel is intercepted by airport security as he passes through the terminal for having several bottles of mezcal in his luggage. In spite of having proper documents, customs detain him as the quantity of bottles exceeds the limit. Meanwhile, Abril is stuck at the airport with her colleague. Her colleague tells her to call if she needs anything. Abril has some 4 hours of free time, so she heads to the bar to wait for Manuel. But he never shows up, as customs officials take him away for questioning. Later, Abril has to leave for her next flight, and in a flash, they lose each other forever. 7 years have passed. Manuel is married to a photographer, and Abril to a singer who also has an infant son. They both seem to lead quiet, stable domestic lives. Following one of those flights, Abril never flew again as a flight attendant. Yet today, 7 years later, she goes back to work because she wants to see the world once more. And with her son a bit older, now she has some freedom to get away. It's the first time she's going to leave him behind, so she is a bit anxious, but her husband reassures her. Abril pays a trip to Buenos Aires. When she arrives and has checked into the hotel, she encounters Manuel again by coincidence. They just happen to be at the check-in desk, each checking in separately, when they spot each other. Manuel comes over and asks if she remembers him. Abril feigns not remembering, but the truth is she never forgot about him either. Manuel tells her that he spent 2 years searching for her, only hoping that one day he could talk with her. After some chit-chat, it comes out that they have both thought about each other many times over the years, but they never were able to see each other again since they didn't know the other's full names. They share pictures of their wives and children with one another, but Manuel always has that same thing for Abril and senses what they have experienced was not an ephemeral episode. As he is at the hotel, Manuel tries his best to remain near her. He even dances with her during one of the parties and tries to rekindle some kind of relationship, however temporary. The next day, Abril is heading to a local marketplace. When Manuel sees her checking out of the hotel, he inquires where she is headed and offers to join her. When Abril makes a remark about her thinking he was working, Manuel says it is more pressing and changes his work schedule to go with her. They go to a downtown Buenos Aires antique fair. Abril notices at one booth a red woven bracelet that she prefers, but she doesn't buy it at the time. Later, unbeknownst to her, Manuel buys it and gives it to her as a present. Then, in another store, an old woman starts speaking in a foreign language. Nobody has any idea what she's talking about, but she says something to her grandson. Manuel and Abril notice the old woman is addressing them and ask, "What is she saying?" The grandson explains that his grandmother said to him, "These two have a red thread." He then warns them about an old myth, the red string of fate which connects two souls destined for each other. Even if they are separated for years and distances or obstacles cross their paths, this string never breaks. For the other couples, it is just that one day they will somehow get back to one another eventually. Manuel had first assumed the old lady was merely spinning an imaginative tale, a myth for tourists, meant to put smiles on the face of the tourists. Abril, however, paused to think about it. Maybe there indeed was that thread of red that bound them together, because the old lady, who knew nothing about them, swore they did. Both remembered how they'd first met in the same situation 7 years ago, and here they were again. Maybe fate did have its way. Even so, the circumstances and time were not appropriate. Both had a partner and children. Nevertheless, Manuel was so persistent that in the end, he and Abreu spent the night alone together with no one else, and a passionate connection was sparked between them. Then, Manuel hid the reality from his wife, but the negotiations made Abreu feel guilty. She told Manuel that they should say their goodbyes to each other for life that day, because they were both somebodies and they could not continue with the affair. But Manuel would not believe it. He just wanted to be with Abril. Abril left him, declaring she never wanted to lay eyes on him again. Just like 7 years before, they broke up once more, and Manuel went back to his old self. His wife sensed something was not right with him, but what actually happened was Manuel was still trying to reach Abril, and Abril herself was not satisfied. The emotions allowed neither to continue their marriages as they had been. Manuel started talking with his wife, telling her about the photos she'd been taking, until he found that suddenly she was scheduled to take Bruno's photo, Abril's husband. Fate saw them back to another encounter. Manuel, who did not frequent his wife's workshop, made an exception this time, but in reality, he wanted to have one more encounter with Abril. When Abril and Manuel faced each other, the two began to make some strange, cutting remarks, the kind intended to remind Bruno and Laura that their own marriages were not so perfect as they seemed. Even in this uncomfortable environment, Manuel continued to make a push towards Abril, and she couldn't help but not resist. They both knew they were very much in love, perhaps even meant to be. There was another fling that lasted briefly between them. Manuel openly informed Abril that he was ready to leave his wife for her, believing that they were meant for each other. But Abril wasn't on the same page. She informed him, "You can't love your wife and desire me simultaneously. You must make a choice." The next morning, having slept the entire night with Manuel, Abril got a call from her husband and found out that their son had been sick the night before, and she wasn't around to take care of him. That rocked Abril as much as Manuel to his foundations. But Manuel still wouldn't acknowledge the difference between right and wrong. He just wanted Abril, not his wife Laura. When Abril got back home, she told Bruno that she lost her phone. She was consumed with guilt, considering that because of this illicit affair, she could have lost her son forever. Bruno picked up on the fact that she was hiding something, and Abril could no longer keep it a secret. She confessed the affair with Manuel, and Bruno fell apart when he learned of it. A boiling argument broke out between them. On the other side, however, Manuel learned that Laura had known everything from the very beginning. That night, Manuel had planned to reveal everything to Laura and end things with her, but before he could utter a word, Laura began to ask questions. She could not understand what was missing in their marriage. Then Laura left Manuel, and Abril, after apologizing, left behind her family, home, and life evermore. That night, Manuel and Abril weren't going to see each other again, but fate, it appeared, set Abril right in front of Manuel again. Abril remembered the adage of the old woman, and now, like him, she was sure that an unseen red string tied them together to each other, and therefore they could never really be separated. Even so, Abril left without laying eyes on him again, believing that if they were truly destined to see each other again, somehow they would. A year passed, and exactly that happened. In a foreign nation, Abril and Manuel ended up in the same spot again, and this time, come what may, they vowed never to be apart again.